Happening now, the man wanted for questioning in connection to a Jamestown murder and car fire is now back in New York State. And a Jamestown man faces life in prison after pleading guilty in a narcotics ring. Plus, we have more on the indictment of a former Marine who killed another in a chokehold on a New York subway.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Bronson Rasmussen. Those stories and more are coming up. But first, a Jamestown man faces life behind bars for his role in a Jamestown and Buffalo narcotics ring. 37-year-old Richard Philbrick pled guilty to conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute and to distribute 400 grams or more of fentanyl. Prosecutors accuse Philbrick of buying and selling heroin, fentanyl, and methamphetamines for profit and self-use. They also allege him of using Facebook for drug trafficking at his Newland Avenue address. Now, during investigation, officers were able to purchase controlled substances multiple times from Philbrick. The Jamestown Police Department performed a traffic stop where officers recovered drugs, drug paraphernalia, over $1,000, fentanyl, methamphetamines, morphine pills, hydrocodone pills, blufordine pills, psychedelic mushrooms, cell phones, suboxidine strips, and even a pellet gun. Now, Philbrick did plead guilty to the drug charges, which carry a minimum penalty of 10 years in prison with a maximum of life and a $10 million fine. He is scheduled to be sentenced on October 2nd. Well, an accused Jamestown drug trafficker has been sentenced for federal charges Wednesday. 38-year-old Douglas Beardsley was convicted of conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute and to distribute 500 grams or more of methamphetamine, in addition to a felony firearm possession charge. Between September 2018 and January 2019, Beardsley is accused of buying and selling heroin and methamphetamine in the Jamestown area. Prosecutors say Beardsley had a lengthy criminal past with convictions in 2005, 2009, and 2013. He was sentenced to serve over 14 years in prison. Well, after 3 weeks of waiting, Michael Burham is back in New York State. Chautauqua County District Attorney Jason Schmidt announced that the 34-year-old apprehended in federal court Wednesday after being extradited from South Carolina. Now, Burham was captured in South Carolina 2 weeks after fleeing from New York State following the homicide of Kayla Hodgkin. He was wanted for questioning in that case alongside a car fire and rape. In addition, Burham is accused of kidnapping an elderly couple out of Warren County at gunpoint, making them drive him to South Carolina. And just into our newsroom, the Chautauqua County District Attorney Jason Schmidt said this: "Since before his capture, I was in contact with the U.S. Attorney's Office and District Attorney Rob Green of Warren County, Pennsylvania, where the abduction occurred, so that we could coordinate our respective efforts in the most effective and sensible way possible to ensure that Mr. Burham is held accountable for his actions. With that, I arranged for the removal of all detainers lodged against Mr. Burham here in New York, and yesterday, the U.S. Attorney's Office formally dismissed its charges under federal law, thereby paving the way for Pennsylvania to go forward with the prosecution of kidnapping charges filed by Pennsylvania State Police and District Attorney Green's office. As a predicate that our state court is already engaged in the necessary extradition process so that Mr. Burham will be transported to Pennsylvania. Letting Pennsylvania go first provides us with further time to continue to develop the evidence, just as we have been doing since the early morning hours of May 11th. Understand that once we charge any crime, the right to counsel attaches, limiting our ability to interview the suspect, and our ongoing investigation is also further complicated by New York's discovery laws applicable in criminal proceedings. Now, later on today, the district attorney will reach out with more information. This is an updated story, and we will let you know whatever he has to say. Now switching gears a little bit, we'll get a check of our first weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Andrew Stevenson. And the rain is kind of not here anymore, but I heard it might be coming back.
We have a little break in between the rain, but we got some more rain on the way that you're not here. Okay, I think you should be able to hear me now. I forgot to turn my mic on. Yeah, the rain is, we have a break from the rain right now, but we have some more rain on the way. First offense Doppler radar. We had some sunshine this morning, but we have some clouds building in from the west. Most of the day today will be rain-free, but we'll get into the rain later on tonight. You can actually see on the Warren sky camera right now that the clouds have not made it that far down to Warren right now, but they are building in, so partly sunny skies over Warren as we speak right now as the clouds continue to build in. The almanac for today, another cool day yesterday. We only made it to a high of 61 degrees yesterday. Our low was 50. We are still well below average. Our average high should be about 77 degrees for this time of year, but we are really below where our record was. 94 set back in 1988 is record high, and record low of 34 set back in 1979. So here's your first defense weather forecast for the rest of the afternoon out there. Partly sunny skies, but the clouds will be increasing through the afternoon ahead of another system that's going to arrive later on tonight, bringing more rain to the region. Still can't rule out an isolated shower or an isolated thunderstorm later this afternoon with a west wind of 5 to 10 miles per hour, and highs should be a little bit warmer today in the upper 60s to lower 70s. I'll have a look at the full forecast, including how much more rain is on the way tonight and tomorrow, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew, we'll see you then. It's WNY News Now. A former Marine who held a man in a deadly chokehold on a New York City subway has been indicted. The details coming up. And later, we have the latest updates in a major PA bridge collapse. Stay with us, as WNY News Now will be right back.
Catch your first defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Hi, I'm Dave Manella, Chairman of the Italian-American Charity Golf Association, and it is our goal to help in the fight against cancer-related care. We have held our annual charity fundraiser for over 52 years and raised over $1.6 million for the healthcare facilities throughout our community. This includes UPMC Cancer Treatment Center and the Star Hospice House. Our next tournament will be held from June 8th through June 10th at Holiday Valley. If you would like more information, you can go to icharitygolf.com.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Mackermites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
In Albany, lawmakers passed over 800 bills this year. Now our New York State Capitol correspondent Elise Klein breaks down one of the passed bills that would establish a directory for doula services.
Maternal health is very important to me. Our rates of maternal mortality are shocking, especially for women of color. We have to be very aggressive in dealing with this.
The legislation, if signed by the governor, would direct the Department of Health to establish a community doula directory. The directory would promote Medicaid reimbursement and doula services for Medicaid recipients. The commissioner for the Department of Health says Medicaid reimbursement for doula services passed in this year's state budget will be an important clinical tool to help combat maternal mortality.
Quite frankly, eliminating health disparities is something that's very important to me. It's very important to the New York State Department of Health. there's just no reason why in a civilized culture we should tolerate health disparities. It's just not something we should do.
Medicaid reimbursement for doula services could also help some doulas financially. Rachel Tiebold, a birth and postpartum doula in Erie County, says she often has to travel a lengthy distance to her clients, and increasing gas prices continue to cause her financial stress.
I don't get reimbursed per mile. I would have to rely on myself to get paid, and we only get paid a certain amount of allotment. Right now it's at $30 per prenatal visit, $30 per postpartum visit, and right now that the gas, it doesn't cover even just the gas.
In Albany, Elise Klein, Erie News Now.
A Manhattan grand jury has voted to indict the former Marine who held a man in a deadly chokehold on a New York subway. Now, Daniel Penny was indicted on second-degree manslaughter charges. He surrendered to police last month and has been out on bond since then. Now, Penny held down Jordan Neely, a homeless man, after Neely started shouting at passengers that he was hungry and didn't care if he died. Now, witness told reporters that Neely had been acting erratically before that incident, but had not really attacked anyone. Penny had Neely in a chokehold until he stopped breathing. The Manhattan DA is expected to formally announce the grand jury indictment sometime today. The law firm representing the victim's family issued a statement that read, quote, "Daniel Penny did not have the right to be the judge, jury, and executioner," end quote. The attorneys representing Jordan Neely's family praised the grand jury's decision and said it reaffirmed their belief in the justice system. While PA Governor Josh Shapiro, alongside state and federal officials, provided an update on the Interstate 95 collapse. The portion of I-95 collapsed Sunday morning after a tanker truck carrying more than 8,000 gallons of gasoline lost control on an exit ramp. The truck crashed and ignited a heavy fire, which ultimately led to the collapse. On Monday, Governor Shapiro issued a proclamation of disaster emergency, which allows the state to immediately draw down federal funds to begin the repair and reconstruction process. Officials said today that reconstruction will be underway as soon as demolition of the damaged section is completed. They say demolition is well ahead of schedule and is expected to be completed tomorrow. However, it's still too soon to say when the critical interstate will be up and running.
We are going to get this job done as quickly as possible. We're working as quickly as possible. The backfill will be here on site beginning tomorrow. We are not wasting a single second. These guys are going to be working 24/7, and you'll be able to watch that.
Shapiro says the total cost being determined by the federal government right now, but there will be a 24/7 live camera set up for the public to watch the rebuild process. Well, in 2030, Pennsylvania's population of residents 85 and older is expected to nearly double. Long-term care advocates say that the Commonwealth is not prepared. Now, our PA State Capitol correspondent Brendan Scanlon heard from advocates who are calling for additional funding in the upcoming fiscal year.
Behind me are the women and men who have cared for our most vulnerable population.
Despite a historic investment in Medicaid in last year's budget, healthcare advocates are worried about the future of long-term care.
Our demographics are barreling down the tracks, and we are in no way ready in Pennsylvania for what's coming.
More than 70% of nursing home care is paid for by Medicaid. PHCA President Zach Schamberg says last year's investment was about survival. This year, it's about sustainability.
We need to ensure that our senior citizens and our adults with disabilities can access the care that they need and deserve.
With a new fiscal year just around the corner, Schamberg and advocates have a simple question for lawmakers.
Who will care for our aging population if our providers cannot afford to keep their doors open?
We definitely need another increase this year for sustainability.
Providers like Noelle Kovaleski hope the legislature will care by making a $99 million investment in this year's budget.
Without that, I'm afraid the future is pretty is pretty grim for long-term care.
$42 million would fund infrastructure and operational expenses.
The cost of food, labor, and utilities continue to climb at monumental rates over the past 3 years, and we did not have the revenue stream to support it.
And $57 million would fund workforce recruitment.
The biggest challenge, period, is staffing. We struggle, every nursing home struggles to keep their staff, to retain their staff, to hire new staff.
Advocates say it's time for a long-term solution to long-term care. At the state capitol in Harrisburg, Brendan Scanlon reporting.
Coming up, we look at the nation's capital, where interest rates are unchanged for the first time in months. And later, how the White House are cutting down on hidden fees. But first, we return with a look at our full weather forecast.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Macker mites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
On this episode of Lead and Lures, pro staffer and lethal lady Caitlin Armstrong takes out her big Ohio buck. Months of hard work, dedication, and scouting have led her to this moment. You're not going to want to miss this episode of Lead and Lures on Channel 716 Roku TV. And if you want to see more of Caitlin Armstrong, follow her on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Caitlin Armstrong.
Land has been quite the experience.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense weather.
Welcome back to WNY News Now. Currently in downtown Jamestown, we're under mostly cloudy skies. The conditions at the Jamestown Airport as of noon are 63 degrees is the current temperature with a west wind of 9 miles per hour. Well, let's talk about some thunderstorms. Right now, here's the outlook for today across the region. Now, these are general thunderstorms with no severe risk. That's light green across much of the area, but there is a small, and I stress a very small portion of Erie County and Crawford County in Pennsylvania under a marginal risk for severe weather. All of Ohio is under marginal risk, and for those storms today, there's a possibility that some storms could contain some strong gusty winds this afternoon and evening and heading into tonight. But for us across western New York, we're just under a general non-severe thunderstorm risk for today. We have to go down south to find a real big severe outlook risk, and that spans across much of the south, but the greatest risk will be found across portions of Oklahoma and Texas, where today they could be seeing some very strong severe thunderstorms with damaging tornadoes and large hail. So if you know anyone living down south, you might just want to give them the heads up to keep weather aware today, because severe storms are likely across the south today. And across the northeast right now, we do have a weak ridge of high pressure drifting across the region, but that high pressure ridge will quickly skedaddle as another low pressure system off to our west moves across the area, and that's going to be our source for our next batch of rain heading in tonight. So let's time it out on futurecast. Partly to mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon today. Most of the day will be dry. Can't rule out an isolated shower or thunderstorm later this afternoon and evening. The bulk of the rain showers will arrive overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. As that next system moves across the region, that will bring some rain showers tonight through the day tomorrow, and should taper off to maybe some scattered showers through the afternoon tomorrow as that system crosses through, and then head in Friday night into the Saturday. Drier weather will return to the region, and we should return to partly sunny skies through the day on Saturday. In terms of how much rain we're going to get out of this next system, we're looking at maybe a half an inch across the southern tier, northwestern Pennsylvania, maybe upwards of a quarter inch, closer to an inch of rain as you go out farther to the east into the Finger Lakes region of New York State. So we need the rain and definitely have some more rain on the way. And now that extended forecast powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions should make it into the upper 60s, close to 70 today, back down to the lower 60s for tomorrow with those rain showers, and heading into the weekend, partly sunny to mostly sunny skies through the weekend. Temperatures will rebound eventually back into the lower 70s by Sunday, and we should stay in the low to mid 70s through much of next week, and at least through the middle of next week. It's looking mainly dry, although an isolated chance for a few showers are possible each day in the afternoon.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Now for some headlines from around the nation. The Federal Reserve is keeping interest rates the same after they've raised them significantly over the past couple of months to combat inflation. Now think of the Federal Reserve like the Goldilocks principle. They want to keep the economy running, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. And in the past couple of months, Reserve has hiked up interest rates 10 consecutive times, climbing to about the 5% rate now. When the Federal Reserve was raising these interest rates, it impacts a variety of things in the economy, like lending rates for credit cards, housing, and business loans by making it more expensive to borrow and invest. The Federal Reserve is trying to cool down demand in the economy, therefore reduce the upward price pressure, even though they are keeping the raised rate the same right now. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says that they might raise them again later this year, just during the economic forecasts.
We remain committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Reducing inflation is likely to require a period of below-trend growth and some softening of labor market conditions. Restoring price stability is essential to set the stage for achieving maximum employment and stable prices over the longer run.
He goes on to say that they're understanding that their actions have an impact in our local communities, but again, they just want to see how areas in the economy will react to the previous rate hikes. Well, today, President Joe Biden is set to announce changes to how Live Nation and Ticketmaster sell tickets. According to the White House, starting in September, the entertainment giant and ticketing behemoth will give consumers the ability to see all fees up front. That way, Americans don't have to worry about potential price increase late in the checkout process. There's been increased pressure on the industry to be more transparent about the so-called junk fees that they add. Biden had urged Congress to pass legislation targeting those hidden fees across multiple industries. This is his latest effort to try to address this issue. In other news, Greece has declared 3 days of national mourning for hundreds of migrants who are feared to be drowned after their boat sank early Wednesday off the Greek coast. It's one of the country's worst maritime tragedies in the past few years, with the last 78 confirmed deaths so far. According to the Coast Guard, hundreds of migrants were on board when the boat sank. Just over 100 people have been rescued. The boat is believed to have been carrying 400 to 750 people, and the Coast Guard says it most likely capsized because of a sudden shift in weight. Well, next, we take you to the shelves and how to save on this Father's Day.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
15-year-old Yadiel Diaz was subject to a public humiliation stunt by a fellow student in an act of violence and bullying. Now Yadiel's mother, Raquel, has had enough.
Officials are trying to work with the county's homeless coalition to help support the homeless population locally. There are also plans in the works to build 2 new shelters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
Have you ever wanted to live out your dreams? Hunt, fish, in all corners of the earth? Well, now's your chance. Follow Primitive Patriot Outdoors as we live out our dreams and show you how to live out yours through outdoor adventures. From Western New York to Africa to all corners of the earth, follow us on this adventure. It's an experience you've never seen before. Lead and Lures, Roku TV, Channel 716.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
A retail industry group says that Father's Day spending could break records this year. And if you're still shopping around for a gift, we have some valuable tips to help you celebrate without breaking the bank. Jen Sullivan has 3 tips on how to help you save on this special occasion.
Showering Dad with love this Father's Day? You're not alone. Spending is expected to reach nearly $23 billion this year. The National Retail Federation says that would be an all-time high. It's predicting consumers will spend a record $196.23 on average. But celebrating Father's Day doesn't have to be expensive.
There is no better time to spend your money wisely than on the men in your life that you love.
Jessica Allen from the website Living Well Spending Less has some tips to help you save money while still expressing your love and appreciation for Dad. Number 1, be intentional. As you might expect, some of the most popular gifts this year are clothing, gift cards, and personal care items. But Allen says consider crafting a heartfelt, personalized gift instead. It may be cheaper, and it's certainly more thoughtful than a store-bought item.
Get really specific. Do you have a movie buff? Can you plan early to go see a summer blockbuster?
Number 2, ditch the restaurant and host a grilling session. Buy a cut of meat or veggie that he loves. Have it ready for a weekend celebration and a playlist of all of Dad's favorite songs.
Just ask him, would you like to grill for us or would you like us to grill for you? You're going to save so much money when you plan and have that beautiful meal at home.
Number 3, plan a memorable experience. Take Dad on a hike, picnic, fishing trip, or any activity that he enjoys.
For these men, love is spelled Time. And so how can you carve out some time in your weekend to spend some quality time with the fathers in your life?
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Well, another saving tip that they gave us is to consider a group gift. If you have siblings or other family members that also want to celebrate Father's Day, consider pooling your resources and purchasing a joint gift. This way you can contribute a reasonable amount individually while collectively giving your father a more significant and meaningful present. And I don't know about you, Andrew, but I have nothing prepared for Father's Day yet.
I have done nothing yet. Been too busy, and I actually forgot it was coming up until we did that video about it.
It's crazy that so much things happening this weekend. There's still stuff going on with Pride. There's Juneteenth. There's a Greek festival here in Jamestown, Father's Day. So much coming up this weekend.
At least we have good weather, and then we'll go through some rain tomorrow, and then the weekend is looking pretty dry out there and a little bit warmer too. So maybe a cookout wouldn't be a bad idea for the fathers out there.
That sounds pretty good. Even if sporting events, those happening, pretty good weather for them as well.
Yep, pretty good weather through the weekend. Looks like pretty good weather next week, and a little bit warmer next week. I know this past week just been feeling like not like summer out there.
We had that time in spring where it felt like summer, and now it feels like spring. You never know with this area.
Maybe 2 weeks from now we'll be back in 90-degree weather, and maybe the smoke will return. Let's hope not.
We'll leave you this live look over Lakeside Park.